Hello, welcome back to the Breaking News Update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news that I'd like to share with all of you today. So today's date is May 20th, 2025, and it's Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Lots of news to cover in today's update. We're going to start off strong talking about massive sanctions introduced from the EU today, slamming down onto Russia. Take a look at your screen here. EU's 17th sanctions package on Russia takes effect, targeting Shadow Fleet. The EU has formally approved its 17th package of sanctions imposed on Russia over aggression in Ukraine, including measures against almost 200 Shadow Fleet vessels, according to top EU diplomat Kaja Kallas. So these new sanctions are also going to target members of Russia's military and political elite, foreign entities in China, or the United Arab Emirates, also known as the UAE, also accused of helping the Kremlin evade already imposed measures. The EU will also sanction more than 20 entities and individuals disseminating disinformation, and 20 judges and prosecutors involved in legal cases against Russian opposition, specifically Vladimir Kara-Murza and late Alexei Navalny. And finally, the package also targets components vital to Russia's defense industry, namely chemicals, materials, and dual-use goods. Okay, so targeting multiple sectors of Russia's economy, but primarily 200 vessels of Russia's Shadow Fleet that they use to circumvent sanctions and still transport oil around the world. So we're going to discuss more about sanctions today. We also have reports that the British have also announced their own new large-scale package of sanctions as well, targeting Russia to follow up with the sanctions that have been released by the EU today. So we'll be discussing that as well. And also we have a very big story today that Belgium's going to be jumping on board to join the coalition of the willing that's led by France and Britain. And they're willing to send troops into Ukraine if we happen to get a ceasefire. So that's very big news. They have also announced a 1 billion euro aid package for Ukraine. Okay, so we're going to go over all these details today, guys. Lots of things to cover in today's update. Let's go ahead and jump into this. We'll start off here on X with Kaja Kallas, who is the Vice President of the European Commission. She says the EU has approved its 17th sanctions package against Russia, targeting nearly 200 Shadow Fleet ships. New measures also address hybrid threats and human rights. More sanctions on Russia are in the works. The longer Russia wages war, the tougher our response. Okay, so that's a statement coming out from Kaja Kallas today, officially confirming the approval of the EU's 17th sanctions package. Okay, we know there's an 18th package that's coming up here very soon. I have news on that as well. So now look at this from Bliskovka. Britain also announced a new large-scale package of sanctions against the Russian Federation. New restrictions were imposed on 100 objects from the military, energy, financial sectors of Russia, as well as those involved in the Kremlin's information warfare. In addition, the sanctions listed include 18 vessels of the Russian Shadow Fleet. Okay, so now I might add, just like a week ago, we heard that Britain had sanctioned somewhere around 91 vessels of the Russian Shadow Fleet, now adding on another 18 on top of the 200 roughly that were sanctioned today by the EU. So we're talking like 300 vessels just over the last week. Here's a report directly out of the UK's government website. It says UK announces major sanctions in support of Ukraine as President Putin ruthlessly intensifies his strikes against innocent Ukrainians. The UK is ramping up pressure with raft of 100 new sanctions. So very big today. And from what I understand behind this information as well, the UK also released these sanctions onto Russia due to the massive drone attack that took place over the weekend on Sunday when I was not here. But I let you guys know yesterday on Monday that Ukraine was attacked by upwards of almost 300 drones just on Sunday morning. Okay, so that's apparently also why they announced these sanctions. Now, from NOAA reports, the EU is already working on its 18th sanctions package against Russia, according to the EU High Representative Kaja Kallas. Okay, so the 18th sanctions package coming into play here very soon as well. We should be hearing more about this over the coming weeks. And as far as I know, they're going to be going directly after Russia's oil industry once again, and potentially even some imports in their nation. So we'll see what happens and what they decide to release in this next package of sanctions. Now from Anton Geroshenko, Belgium is ready to send troops to Ukraine as part of the coalition of the willing led by France and Britain as soon as a ceasefire is concluded. Belgian Defense Minister Theo Franken reported they're working on a plan and they're working very closely together. We're pretty much there. So I think that it's evolving in the right direction. The moment there is a ceasefire, we can immediately operate with the coalition of the willing on Ukrainian soil. I think it's very important that we keep on supporting Ukraine and that Ukraine knows that they can count on Europe, Frank said. As Belgium will provide Ukraine with an aid package worth 1 billion euros in 2025, the package will include various types of military equipment, TIJD informs. Thank you, Belgium. According to Theo Franken, most of the equipment and weapons will be Belgian made. The package will include 100 armored ambulances and Unimog, I think it's Unimog, transport vehicles, 5 unmanned maritime vessels, aerial drones along with special helmets for operators, portable drone detection systems, and night vision goggles for effective operation in different environments, medical equipment, and protective clothing against chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats, over 16,000 weapons and guns to enhance firepower, 20 Cerber air defense systems, 1 Leopard battle tank equipped with modernized turret for testing purposes. Yeah, so that's a big one too. We heard about that. I reported that to you guys. I think it was like, it might have been yesterday or late last week, maybe on Saturday. That apparently they're going to be sending one of these Leopard battle tanks that have a modernized turret, and they're going to be sending it over there for testing purposes for their own military. So that's very interesting. We might see more of those going to Ukraine, but huge 20 Cerber air defense systems as well. We reported that, I think, yesterday to you guys also, that Belgium was going to be sending these over. So take a look at this, guys, 30 seconds long.
Shots, chiefs of defense, there is a tasking group, a coalition of the willing, and they're working with in the lead of the British and the French. They're working a plan, and they're working very closely together. We're pretty much there, so I think that it's evolving in the right direction. The moment there's a ceasefire, we can immediately operate with the coalition of the willing on Ukrainian soil. So I think it's very important that we keep on supporting Ukraine, and that Ukraine knows that they can count on Europe. Shots, chiefs of defense there.
All right, so very big news, guys. We know that the coalition of the willing has been kind of hitting a brick wall. They've been having some struggles trying to get some more nations to jump on board to send their troops into Ukraine if we happen to get a ceasefire. So that's good to hear that now Belgium is willing to step up and send their own troops into Ukraine if we see a ceasefire in this war. Okay, so very big news today. Now from the Kyiv Independent, majority of Americans believe Putin stalling peace talks, back sanctions if Russia refuses to negotiate, poll shows. Over 60% of Americans believe Russian President Vladimir Putin is stalling peace talks involving the United States and back weaponry shipments to Ukraine and additional sanctions if Russia refuses to negotiate a peace deal, according to a Harvard Capps-Harris poll released on May 19th. So let me know what you think, guys. Do you think that 60% of Americans believe that Vladimir Putin is stalling? I mean, we've been seeing this repeatedly, and it seems like Trump keeps falling for the same trick over and over, where Putin keeps coming out saying they're willing to negotiate, they're willing to end this war, but then we see no concrete evidence of that. We just see a continuation of it, and if anything, we're hearing on the back end as well, Volodymyr Zelensky and Ukraine's military reporting that the Russians are launching a new summer campaign or offensive. So far, even though we continuously hear from the Russian side of the Kremlin that they're willing to end this war, we haven't seen any real evidence of that yet. Okay, so that was a new poll today. Now from the Kyiv Independent, Zelensky dismisses Putin's demand to withdraw troops from 4 Ukrainian regions. It means that they, Russia, don't want peace. President Volodymyr Zelensky said if they demand what they know we won't agree to, he added. Okay, so we talked about this yesterday. I did give you guys this information that Volodymyr Zelensky came out in a speech after Trump and Putin's phone call yesterday, and he was speaking to reporters and told them that they were not going to withdraw their troops from the 4 Ukrainian regions that they're still fighting in right now. And this was a statement, apparently, that he also said here, that Russia doesn't want peace. And if they're demanding things that they know Ukraine is not going to agree to, obviously, they don't want peace, right? Because they know Ukraine will never agree to it. But we know, pretty much all of Russia's demands, Ukraine will never agree to any of them. And Zelensky came out yesterday and refused pretty much all the demands from the Russian side, that they will never agree to any of them. So now for more translated, if Russia does not stop the killings, if it does not release the prisoners and hostages, if Putin puts forward unrealistic conditions, this will mean that Russia is continuing to prolong the war and deserves to be treated accordingly by Europe, America, and the entire world. Okay, that was another statement from Volodymyr Zelensky today. calling on Europe, calling on the United States, and saying, hey, if Russia's not showing that they want to end this war, and they're putting forward unrealistic conditions, not willing to release prisoners or anything like that, the world needs to step up and increase pressure onto Russia, hit them with sanctions, do everything necessary to stop this war. We're supposed to be hearing sometime this week. There's supposed to be 1,000 for 1,000 swap from Ukraine and Russia. We'll see if that happens to be the case. I haven't heard any updates on that or anything, but as far as we know, that should be taking place this week. That was according to Kirill Budanov, the head of the GUR, Ukraine's intelligence directorate, this week. Now, from next, European officials have called the recent conversation between Putin and Trump a major win for the Russian leader. According to Financial Times, leaders across Europe were reportedly surprised by Washington's reluctance to impose new sanctions on Moscow. Trump, is stepping back, supporting and funding Ukraine, as well as putting pressure on Russia. It's all on us now, a senior European diplomat told the Financial Times. Yeah, so I think based on that phone call yesterday, many of us can agree that, again, Trump is siding with Russia. They're giving Russia all the time they need to continue on this invasion into Ukraine. I think most of us understand that Russia's not ready to end the war. If they really were, they would come out and just agree to a 30-day unconditional ceasefire. But that right there, to me, is the number one indicator that Russia's not ready to end this, regardless of what side of the war you stand on. That's very clear for me to see, and I'm probably for many of you, you can see that as well. So until we see that Russia is ready to agree to a ceasefire, I don't think we're going to see any major movement in that direction towards reaching that ceasefire. So apparently European officials are very concerned about Trump and Putin's phone call yesterday, and once again, Trump siding with Russia and giving them more time to basically stall out and continuously claim that they're ready to end this war, but not really showing that yet, right? Now, for NOAA reports, Trump talks peace with Putin, but it's just more empty showmanship. After a 2-hour call, he handed the Kremlin everything it wanted. No new sanctions, no pressure, just vague talk and zero spine. It's not diplomacy, it's Putin pleasing. So NOAA reports is showing you guys this here. This was on Bloomberg today. Peace in Ukraine looks further away after Trump's call with Putin. So yeah, peace is definitely further away. It looks like it's going to be at least 2 to 4 weeks, maybe longer, and we continuously see a kicking of the goalpost just further down the road. And it really makes me wonder if at some point Trump is just going to completely pull out here, pull the U.S. out of these talks and no longer try to end this war. And it was just something I was thinking personally, is maybe that's why we're not seeing him initiate sanctions onto Russia, is because very soon we might see the U.S. pull out. Maybe China or another nation will take over in these negotiations. Maybe even Turkey might step in. They've been willing to step in and talk as well, hold negotiations and help out, mediate. So I don't know. It's just something that I was thinking. You guys can let me know what you think. But do you think the U.S. is going to drop out soon? And that's why we're not seeing sanctions, because the U.S. still wants to have a partnership deal in terms of trade with Russia. They probably don't want to ruin their relations, or at least Trump doesn't, right? So let me know what you guys think on that. Now, for NOAA reports, Lithuania's defense minister, I'm going to struggle to pronounce this, but I think it's Dovilė Sakalienė, didn't hold back on Trump's latest call with Putin. She says it's starting to feel like a broken record, some hopeful tone, some same promises of progress, but no actual change on the ground. Putin's just buying time. If we want real results, it's not more talk. It's tougher sanctions on Russia, that is. Okay, so Lithuania's defense minister, so she's coming out saying this is sounding like a broken record. It's the same story over and over. Trump will come out and say, yes, Russia wants peace, that they're willing to end this war, but at the same time, again, no real concrete evidence that we're seeing in terms of action that is showing that Russia's ready. They just continuously keep coming out with the same words, but then issuing the same demands to Ukraine that they know Ukraine will never agree to. So right now, we're not seeing any real movement with this whole ceasefire negotiation deal. So that was according to Lithuania's defense minister today. Now, from Vicegrad24, Trump says he won't impose further sanctions on Russia in response to their refusal to accept his demand for an unconditional 30-day ceasefire, because there's a chance of progress moving towards a ceasefire. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office on May 19th, because I think there's a chance of getting something done, and if you do that, you could also make it much worse, he said. But there could be a time where that's going to happen, he added. The comments came after a 2-hour phone call with Putin. The EU will place sanctions on Russia tomorrow. So this was information from yesterday. It came out late in the day. I wasn't able to squeeze this into any videos that I had for you guys yesterday. So I wanted to just throw this in here real quick, let you know what was stated by Trump. So yeah, Trump's allegedly stating here he doesn't want to put sanctions onto Russia. because he doesn't want to put pressure on Russia all at a time where he believes that Russia is ready for peace, that he thinks it will make it worse if they do that now. But at the same time, we've been seeing repeated stalling from the Russia side for months now. I mean, Trump has been at this literally since he got in office in January. It's been 5 months. And considering how tough Trump can be with a lot of other nations, with like tariffs and all kinds of stuff like that, isn't it very interesting that with Russia he has an extreme soft spot? And I feel like a lot of it has to do with trade that he wants to do with Russia. But you guys can let me know what you think as well. A lot of people think that he's an agent for Russia and all that. Share your thoughts and concerns on that down below. But this was according to Trump today. That's why he doesn't want to release sanctions onto Russia. Now, from next to Trump, Zelensky is a strong guy, not easy to deal with. Speaking at the White House briefing, Donald Trump said it's not easy to deal with Volodymyr Zelensky. When asked whether Ukraine is doing enough to negotiate and push for a ceasefire, Trump replied, "I'd prefer to answer that in about 2 weeks." I think he said 2 to 4 weeks, actually, in this video. We're not going to watch it because this is pretty much what he states right here. But yeah, once again, coming out, kind of having this talk towards Ukraine and Zelensky, and pretty much saying that it's all Zelensky's fault. And now he's claiming again that Zelensky's not easy to guy to deal with. So it makes you wonder if later on we're going to see some sort of peace proposal come out, whether it's the United States or Russia, that we know Ukraine is not going to agree to, then they're going to put all the blame on Ukraine. Is the U.S. going to withdraw support for Ukraine? Or is the U.S. just going to pull out of these negotiations? We don't know what's going to happen here. Is Russia going to get slammed with sanctions? I mean, this thing can really go so many different directions, but we're starting to see a softening on the Russian side again when it comes to Donald Trump. Now we're starting to see more pressure being put onto Zelensky again. So not good news in terms of Ukraine. Now from Ukrainian Review, Trump refused new sanctions against Russia as Putin promised to voice realistic conditions for ending the war. This was according to Axios today. When Trump told the Europeans that Putin had agreed to direct talks on a ceasefire, there was a few seconds of puzzled silence. Zelensky noted that Putin had previously agreed to talks, and the first round had already taken place on Friday in Istanbul. Trump did not respond to this directly. Okay, so Axios reporting today that Trump didn't want to put sanctions on Russia again because Putin promised to voice realistic conditions for ending the war. I mean, that's just crazy, guys. I mean, how many times has the Kremlin come out and said they're willing to end the war, but they refuse a 30-day ceasefire with Ukraine repeatedly? I mean, how many times have they refused it directly to Trump, directly to the Turkish delegation, directly to Zelensky himself, directly to Europe? I mean, to everybody, just coming out and saying we are not going to agree to a 30-day ceasefire. And again, to me, that's the biggest indicator that Russia's not ready to stop the fighting. I mean, if they really were, they would just agree to that 30-day ceasefire and just kind of go from there. But clearly, they've got some major war goals that they're not finished with militarily inside of Ukraine. Now from Anton Yuryshchenko, Peskov says there is no exact time frame for conflict resolution, and there cannot be. It is clear that everyone wants to do it as quickly as possible. But of course, the devil is in the details. A draft memorandum will be prepared by both the Russian and Ukrainian sides. There will be an exchange of these draft documents, and there will be complex contacts to work out as a single text. Okay, so that was a statement today by the Kremlin spokesman. This is Dmitry Peskov. We'll just watch this real quick, just 30 seconds. Take a look at this, guys.
Сроков нет и быть не может. Понятно, что все хотят это сделать максимально быстро, но, разумеется, весь дьявол кроется в деталях. Нет, вот этот меморандум. Конечно же, будут формулироваться проекты и с российской стороны, и с украинской стороны. Будет произведен обмен этими проектами документов. Ну и затем сложные контакты по выработке все-таки единого текста. Сроков нет и быть.
Okay, so statement coming out from Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov here. So he is stating as well, if you notice here, that that there's no time frame on these negotiations and hitting a ceasefire and all that. This thing could really drag on for months or another year. And again, we know that this is a whole stalling tactic that's being used by the Russians. It's very obvious by now. I think most of us can see that. So we'll see what's going to happen here. But so far, the Russians continue stalling and trying to buy time. And we know at the same time they're launching a new offensive in Ukraine. So now for Max 24, European leaders launch urgent diplomatic efforts to keep pressure on Russia and persuade Trump not to exit Ukraine peace talks, according to the Financial Times. We clearly see that Trump wants out, said a Ukrainian official. So here's a report today from the Financial Times. Europe races to keep Donald Trump involved in Ukraine-Russia talks. European capitals in diplomatic flurry after U.S. president's call with Vladimir Putin. Okay, so yeah, so this information showing here that Trump might be on his way out here very soon. And again, this is what makes me question. Maybe that's why the U.S. is also not slamming sanctions. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but maybe part of the reason why Trump doesn't want to hit Russia with sanctions because he's planning to pull out of this very soon and doesn't want anything to do with it anymore because maybe he realizes he has no real chance to end this war. Now, I'm sure, for his own presidency and making himself look good, I'm sure he would love to end this war and be able to say that he was the president that ended it. But maybe he realized that Russia, just has major demands here. Ukraine's got their own, and it's going to be much more difficult to end this war than he probably thought. So could the U.S. be pulling out here soon? Let me know what you guys think on that. But that was from the Financial Times today. Now a few updates from the Kursk region of Russia from Grayskull. The AFU broke into Russia again, this time near Novi Put. Okay, so near Novi Put, this is in the Glushkovsky district, like the southwestern portion of the Kursk region. Apparently they broke in here. They control a small settlement. I forget the name of it. It's a really long name right here on the border of Ukraine. The purple area is Ukrainian territory. Up here is Russian territory. And the orange is kind of where all the fighting is taking place right now. So this area is still seeing a lot of action right now. We've been seeing a lot of HIMARS strikes up in these areas too in the Kursk region. So just a little update here on the border of Ukraine. Looks like they have broken into near Novi Put would be right here, this settlement. They control a small portion over here. Okay, so now from Blaskovka in the morning. In Kersonen, Russia's attacked a public transport with a UAV. There were 5 wounded, reports the regional military administration. The Russians also shelled the Korabelny district. The Russian shell landed near an apartment building. Two people were wounded. Okay, guys, so unfortunately, I can't show you this video. It's got a lot of blood. It's a little too gory here to put on YouTube, but I can show you a few pictures here of a transport bus, local bus here that was hit by some shelling in the city of Kersonen. Now, this is an area that gets attacked a lot by artillery, and you can see they talk about a Russian shell here. That's probably artillery shells that were landing in this area, damaging this bus, and apparently we had people being wounded due to these attacks. So once again, the Russians showing they continuously keep attacking into Kherson and attacking civilian areas. So very sad to report that, guys, but these were attacks taking place in Ukraine today. That's like southern Ukraine. Now from Cloud, Russian Telegram channel Fighter Bomber reports that, according to him, the project of the A-100 AWACS aircraft, which was supposed to replace the A-50, has been closed. The reason for the closure is probably the inability to replace imported components due to sanctions. The aircraft had to be able to detect and track up to 300 air, sea, and ground targets, as well as control drones. Okay, so an AWACS plane. This is huge, guys. So the A-100 AWACS aircraft was supposed to be replacing one of their A-50s models that they have for the Russian military, and allegedly they had to cancel this due to potential sanctions. I mean, this is something we've been hearing a lot. We know Russia's aviation industry is heavily pressure due to sanctions. A lot of their aircraft, they can't even maintain them. They can't get a lot of the components they need that need to be replaced to service these aircraft. So this is huge, guys. I mean, Russia's struggling with intelligence, and one of these AWACS planes, what was it, like a year or two ago, if you guys remember that, one of them were shot down by Ukraine. So Russia hasn't really been carrying out a whole lot of intelligence flights due to that, because they only have so many of these AWACS aircraft, and they don't want to risk more than being shot down. So apparently they had to close a new project of the A-100 AWACS aircraft. This was a new one that was going to be replacing the A-50. So very big news. Sanctions are working is what it appears to be there. Now from the Ukrainian Review, Biden's military aid package for Ukraine is ending this summer, according to Member of Parliament Gerashenko. According to her, the U.S. budget currently does not provide for new weapon supplies to our country. Okay, so this is not good news. We've been hearing a lot that the U.S. is not really approving any new aid packages. Many of the packages are still going to Ukraine are from the Biden administration, and it looks like by summertime, Biden's military aid package is going to be ending. Okay, so that's not good news. So is the U.S. around this time? I mean, this is right around the corner. We're already in May, guys. So very soon we could see the U.S. just completely withdrawing support for Ukraine. I mean, I hope that's not going to be the case, but the timing here is very interesting. Aid support from the Biden administration is running out. Trump administration is not really giving out any new aid as well. It's really just Europe right now. So that is not good information coming out from Ukraine's parliament. Now for Max 24, Rubio, the U.S. has not stopped supplying weapons to Ukraine, but there is no decision on the possibility of forming new aid packages. Okay, so this is not good news as well. I mean, we already heard from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, in Congress. He stated that there would be no new aid packages for Ukraine. So I'm under the assumption that once the Biden military aid runs out, the Trump administration will probably not continue more aid to Ukraine unless they're able to secure some sort of deal, which I know they have like the whole minerals deal thing. And as far as I know, that's supposed to be including some military aid. But from what we're hearing from the Trump administration, there's no new military packages that are being formed right now. So that is not good news. If that starts to run out here in the next couple of months from the Biden administration, we know the U.S. does supply a lot of aid to Ukraine, okay? So just be ready for that. This is from the U.S. Secretary of State today, Marco Rubio. Now for NOAA reports, Russia is now using a 90-kilogram warhead for its Shahed 136 drones with combined shaped charge, fragmentation, blast, and incendiary effects, more advanced than the Iranian version. Previously reported variants weighed 50 kilograms, Defense Express reports. Okay, so here was the report today from Defense Express. And I did give you guys this information over the last couple days. It could have been on Saturday when I shared this with you guys, that Russia had upgraded the Iranian Shahed drones. They've started to put a heavier payload on them. They have like a 90-kilogram warhead now. Versus a 50 kilograms, so almost doubling the size of the warhead, which is going to do more damage to Ukrainian civilians when these things explode. We also know a lot of these even have thermobaric warheads on them sometimes, even like nails inside of them. I mean, the Russians put whatever they want to just brutally attack Ukraine and civilians, striking all over the place with these. So not good news, guys. We know that Russia has upgraded the Shahed drones. They're going to be doing a lot more damage inside of Ukraine. Now from Anton Gerashenko, China has reduced investments in Russia threefold during the war in Ukraine, the Bell reports, citing a brief by the Bank of Finland Institute for Emerging Economies. Even though Beijing is Moscow's main trading partner, their economic relationship remains superficial. According to the brief, Chinese investors remain wary of the risk related to the Russian markets due to sanctions and Russia's policies. Whereas China invested an average of $1.2 billion per year in Russian projects in 2011 to 2018, the figure has been reduced threefold in 2022 to 2023 to $400 million. That's crazy, guys. 1/3 of the amount that they were originally investing just prior to the war. The last major investment project from China to Russia, $360 million from Sinopec, was back in 2021. According to experts, the reason for the reduction in investment is that the Russian market has always had a bad reputation among Chinese investors because Russia has neither investment protection nor an understandable judicial system. Sanctions volatility due to the war has also made an impact. And that's what I was thinking was most likely sanctions. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Chinese companies are afraid to do business with Russia because if they do, they could potentially be sanctioned or accused that they're helping out with this war effort. So I would think that has a lot to do with it as well. But look at how much just over the past few years, it's been really declining. I mean, even since the start of the war or beginning before the war, it's dropped down about at least half of where it was before, according to this graph. So that's not good news for Russia's economy. More signs that Russia's getting less and less support for their economy. We know their ruble's suffering right now. Their oil and gas industry is suffering. Sanctions are hammering down onto them every single day. I mean, they're getting hit hard right now in terms of their economy. Now for Bliskovka, the U.S. working with NATO allies to supply Ukraine with additional Patriot batteries, according to the Clash report, citing U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Here was the report from Clash Report on X. It says U.S. Secretary of State Rubio, the United States working on with NATO partners to source additional Patriot missile defense batteries for Ukraine. Okay, so this is good news for Ukraine, obviously, right? We know that Ukraine needs air defense systems. That's probably one of the major things they need, aside from, means to be able to attack back at Russia, right? We know that their skies need to be defended. They're heavily attacked by missiles and drones every single day. So we're not sure how many Patriot missile defense batteries Ukraine could be receiving, but they're going to be working with NATO partners to get as many as possible over to Ukraine. Now for Bliskovka, over the past 3 years, Ukraine has increased defense production from $1 billion to $35 billion, reports Defense Minister Umerov. Okay, so here's the defense minister out of Ukraine. So that is very big news, guys. $1 billion all the way up to $35 billion in increased defense production out of Ukraine. That shows that Ukraine is just going to be an absolute powerhouse in terms of military production. And I think a lot of countries are going to start to invest into Ukrainian defense industries. And Ukraine is going to continue to get stronger and stronger every year the longer this war drags out. And even if this war comes to an end, I think Ukraine is going to continue to focus on that. And they're going to still continuously build up their military, build up their defense industry. I mean, this is only going to get crazier and crazier as time goes on. And Ukraine is going to be upping that number every single year. Now, for Max 24, a number of Russian state services have been hit by a DDoS attack. Access problems are being reported. Okay, so you can see here on some of these reports, these graphs showing here from Down Detector that a lot of reports coming up, okay, multiple times throughout the day. Looks like there was a massive DDoS attack, probably from Ukraine's intelligence. Once again, carrying out these attacks into Russia, targeting multiple different types of services. So these are just different reports showing that today. And this is something we see frequently. Every few weeks, we get reports of DDoS attacks hitting Russian businesses, okay? So very big news there. Now for Bliskovka, Air Defense Forces of Ukraine destroyed 93 out of 108 Russian UAVs. 35 were shot down by firepower, 58 were locally lost, suppressed by electronic warfare, no negative consequences. Okay, so check this out, guys. That is a lot of Russian UAVs shot down. This is probably the most I've ever seen Ukraine take down in one night. They almost took down all of them, 108 in total, but 93 out of 108 destroyed. So very, very big news, guys. I think it's usually about somewhere between like 50 and 70% of the drones that enter into Ukraine that Ukraine takes them down. They took down probably like about 90%, I'd say. Okay, that's a good number of drones being destroyed. Now, our final update of the day from the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of May 20th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of May 20th, 1,030 troops, 5 AFVs, 105 vehicles and fuel tanks, 1 tank, 58 artillery systems, 118 UAVs, 1 MLRS, and 2 special equipment. Okay, so once again, guys, these numbers just really starting to fall off the cliff this week. We're not really seeing a whole lot being destroyed on the Russian side at all. And again, I still expect these numbers to be jumping up, but they're not doing that. So does that mean that Russia's not launching this offensive yet? Is Ukraine just kind of warning that right now, that Russia's preparing this offensive? It hasn't actually been initiated yet. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. But yeah, as we can see here, a lot of these numbers still pretty low, especially vehicles. Some of the tanks and AFVs still well below like just 5 and under. Vehicles and fuel tanks only at 105, and troop losses right at just a little over 1,000. Okay, we usually see 12 to 1,300 on average recently, so really not a whole lot being destroyed on the Russian side once again to report to you guys. And I want to thank you very much for being here for this update again on today's date, May 20th, 2025. And I hope you guys all have a great day out there. So let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.